What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Dean 7904. I don't know why I said zero. You usually say 7904. That is the handle around the daily fantasy industry. It's 5:31 now because I just killed off about 30 seconds or so, and of course run a delay as well. 5:31 on the East Coast, 2:31 West Coast, 4:31 Tennessee time. So of course, I'm this time of the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, it's Head Chopper. What's going on, Chop? How are things in your world?
Doing well, Dean. Doing well. Winding down the summertime. You know, got a message from my good buddy Kirk Deese this morning. He says, you know, is Big Phil. Prayers out to Phil. Big Phil's recovering from a surgery. That's his dog.
Oh, good, awesome.
And so I'm gonna fill in for Kirk today while he takes care of Phil. But Phil, if you're listening in, man, we're thinking about you. I hope you get better, man.
Yeah, I don't know what I know Phil was a big hit in some of the shows I just never happened to make an appearance on, but yeah, hopefully he gets better. I didn't know what the issue was, but I'm very sympathetic, and yeah, we want Phil. Phil's going to be recovering. Is that what we're hearing so far?
Phil's back home now with Kirky, and he's recovering. It's about a 4-week process here to recover. So you know how you get them pets, man, and they get older, and it's tough sometimes. So it's tough life, man. Tough life sometimes.
Yeah. Our family's cat is pushing 19. So, you know, we're getting there, but smash the over, you know, whatever 19, the over under was.
That's big time.
Yeah, but the inevitable is lurking within the last week or two. But let's talk about baseball, which is much more fun, much more exciting, of course. Today's slate, Chopper, it's a good one. I like it. Like it a good bed, 10 gamer. No Coors. Coors was this afternoon. Did you dabble in the afternoon slate? Jake Arrieta fixing Coors, and I hope you're sitting down. It didn't go well.
I did. I usually don't partake in the afternoon slates too much. So again, didn't mess with it today. So I was just geared up for this 10 game main slate.
What do we think of it? I think it's well, what's your thought? Your screenshot as far as this slate tonight.
Man, it seems pretty cut and dry for me. You know, there's a few really good pitching options and a big drop off after that, and then some hitting environments that you have to really like that I think we take advantage of, and the rest of it can kind of fall by the wayside for me. So I think it's pretty clear cut and dry.
Yeah, and we're going to focus on of course, pitchers first, then have a conversation about stacks, and then we'll bring in the conversation from the chat. Whatever you guys want us to talk about, whatever you guys feel we did not speak about enough, or you want us to elaborate on, or this, you want to say, yeah, I'm struggling between this guy or that guy. Who should I start my cash game pitchers with? Overall strategy questions, how to attack the slate. We're going to talk obviously from a mostly a Twitter perspective. And yeah, we want to bring those questions into the chat. And, for that reason, Devin is here. Well, he's here for many reasons. Some would say he's multitasking, but he's going to pull your questions from chat, join the show later on, and fire those off to myself and Devin. So yeah, say hello in the chat, ask some questions, do subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Yeah, it's a pitching slate that's kind of sort of weird to me because I don't think there's one clear cut. Well, the clear cut, quote unquote, obvious, quote unquote, safe play, which is, I hate using the word safe, but Morton's a pretty safe pitcher, and pitching in the ballpark against that team in Miami, it's a really safe spot. Like, he's not somebody that has this immense upside, pretty good K percentage. Obviously, I think it's 28 on the season. But he doesn't necessarily have this massive ceiling, and we'll talk about a couple of guys that may have a massive ceiling that can possibly be interesting in tournaments, but that's probably the place to start, right? Charlie Morton in Miami, because the Marlins are still terrible. He's got to be your number one option headed into this slate. Like you said, the upside hasn't been there. It usually isn't with him, but if there's a matchup that can bring out this upside, this has probably got to be it for him right here. So it's just such a good environment for him to be pitching in that I'm okay with running him out there as your SP1. He's got a fair enough price tag. It's below some of the other guys, yet he should be the number one guy, highest projected guy against a lineup that, I need to refresh my lineups here. But when I checked this morning, the projected lineup was, like 6 guys who K a quarter of the time that they against right-handed pitching. No real power. Maybe 2 guys in the whole lineup with any kind of threat of power on him. So Morton is definitely the number one guy in this field. Yeah, the lineup is stronger today than it was yesterday. We saw Yanoa kind of mow him down. They, for whatever reason, had Jazz sitting. They had Aguilar sitting. Both those guys are back. So it is a better Marlins lineup, but it's still a Marlins lineup. Like you said, there is some power. Aguilar. Sanchez is a young prospect with a lot of power, but he's still kind of figuring things out. He's pretty raw as well, and he can strike out plenty. Jackson is back in there catching at 48%, small sample, but he's not a good catcher. He's going to strike out a good bit. De La Cruz, another guy in a small sample, has struck out a ton collectively. 26.9%. Those guys have struck out versus right-handers this season. And like we said, Morton at 28% as far as the Ks. Walks a little bit dicey at times, 8.7%, not ideal. But if you fire up the old plate IQ, like this Marlins team, they just don't walk. They collectively 7.3%. The only guy that we've seen take a walk is Diaz at 14.9%. Otherwise, everybody's at least 7.6 or 8.6% or less. So they're not a patient team. They don't have a lot of power. They're not in a great ballpark to hit baseballs. So that's why Charlie Morton is the dude at the top. Other pitchers that I think maybe possibly that can surpass him if you catch him on the right day would be Freddie Peralta, and my favorite, especially on DK, is Showtime Ohtani against Detroit. Do those guys pop for you? Is that the next conversation? Flaherty, he looked good in his first time back against a Milwaukee team. It's not particularly scary and a pretty positive ballpark to pitch in. Lance Lynn versus an Oakland team, a bunch of righties. There's a bunch of guys that are pretty good or very good actually. It's hard to sort of parse through who my next favorite is, but for me, it's probably site dependent. The price for Ohtani just seems too cheap at 8.6K. Yeah, it sounds like your next two favorite after the Charlie Morton tier is Peralta and Showtime. For me, it's Peralta and Flaherty. So Peralta, yeah, I mean, he's just like maybe he's been a slight victim of the sticky stuff not being around anymore, maybe, but he's still okay at suppressing runs and he'll get you some strikeouts. So I'm good with him. But Flaherty's the guy I probably would take number 2. He's nice price tag. Like you said, his first start back there was a nice 6 innings and 6 clean innings in an American League park. So that's always tougher. And then, like you said, Milwaukee doesn't really do a whole lot for me offensively. If Milwaukee had a good offense, think about it like this. With their pitcher, Burns, Peralta, Woodruff, a great bullpen, like just on paper, if they had a good offense, they should be the World Series favorites here. Maybe like the White Sox. The White Sox, the White Sox are going to have 6-inning games in the playoffs. It's going to be ridiculous. But they have a good offense.
So that just goes to show you that how much Milwaukee's offense kind of isn't that good. It's like, so if they were good, we'd be talking about them in the World Series, but they're not. So yeah, why not fire up some Flaherty? I don't mind that. Yelich isn't really doing much this year so, and after him, I'm not really scared of anybody else in the lineup. So I'm with those two guys next. I'm always kind of leery of him, but he's okay. He's been more or less a steady force, except for that one outing in Yankee Stadium where he went like an inning. And by the way, on that expert survey, Dean, I did call Ohtani would get ran out of that game by like three innings. So
there it is.
I'm not credit to me, Dean, but he's okay. He's steady. I think his upside's kind of limited too, just like Morton. So they're in the same boat right there. But I just prefer Morton's matchup so much more than Ohtani.
Again, I'm not trying to besmirch Peralta, but here's what I don't like about Peralta. Milwaukee's a lock, essentially, 98, 99% mathematically, if you look at the 538, stuff like that, to make the playoffs. And they've kind of pushed back a little bit on his pitches of late. Last time out, 89, before that 98, before that 68, before that 51. I think that was a different reason why 50. I don't know why the 51 happened, to be honest. I think it might have been a rain game, so that's not like fair. But the point is, like, they're playing the long game. Milwaukee knows they're in the playoffs. The back half of that point is they're facing St. Louis. St. Louis is not a great team, not a great offense, very just neutral, right? But we saw yesterday, Burns, he only got 3 or 4 Ks, not looking at one game, but we talked about the same thing yesterday. He's a strikeout savant, and he only got 3 or 4 strikeouts against the St. Louis team. Again, not very good, but outside of Tyler O'Neill, now DeJong's in there too. He's a strike out a good bit, but collectively, it's a pretty contact-heavy lineup. Edman is only striking out 12.4% versus righties. Arenado, 13%. Goldie, 20%. Yachty at 15%. Small sample, but Lars Nootbaar, probably the best new name in the baseball this season, at 11%. I don't know that. I mean, certainly Peralta has the ability, 35% Ks in the season, biggest K rate on the slate. I just don't know if tonight's the night that happens, and I don't think he goes beyond 6. I suppose it's possible that I would take the under on 6 of the third. I'll take the under on Peralta. So again, good pitcher in my pool, but if I'm going to knock him, I'm going to knock him for that. Do you have any thoughts as far as that?
I mean, he's not he's definitely behind Morton by a good margin and behind Flaherty for me. And he probably falls next on the list. Maybe Shohei's ahead of him, but not by much. He's right there because after those 4 guys. Well, all right. So we didn't talk about Lance Lynn. He should probably get the respect to be in that upper tier, but I'm not on Lance Lynn tonight as much, so I kind of left him out. But after those 5 guys then there's a huge drop off, right? Like, so
there's one more. I think there's one more in the mix for me.
Cool. Who are you going to say, Dean?
Well, I mean, Marco Gonzalez at 7.6.
Oh, you're going to, okay. He's been projected real well. I'm not on that train as much, but I get it. He's getting good projections tonight. So people smarter than me think he's going to do well.
The ballpark, it's going to be closed again. I assume the roof's going to be closed again. It's closed every single game, essentially, because it's super hot there. You can confirm, I imagine. I mean, I'm not expecting the CGSO he dropped last time out. Well, it wasn't an SO, was it? CG 1 earned run, but he absolutely crushed 9 strikeouts against his Texas lineup. The Texas lineup has got no better, and again, the price is really, really reasonable. So I'm kind of shuffling as far as my cash lineup on DK. It's between Morton and either Ohtani and Marco Gonzalez. That's kind of where I'm at. Like 2 of those 3, and almost definitely Morton. Just kind of figuring out what the other one may be. Are you not on Marco Gonzalez? I mean, he's not a sexy name, obviously. Just kind of sort of a professional pitcher, I guess. Super average on the season. His K rate's not spectacular, 20%. And to be fair, this Texas lineup is pretty contact heavy. Some small samples there, but it's a pretty contact heavy lineup outside of Garcia and Peters. But and we'll talk about Pozo too. We're excited. I was excited about Pozo pre-show. I have him in the same lineup right now. I don't care. I run my catcher, my 2K catcher at my pitcher. But it doesn't sound like you're all that interested in Gonzalez, or just
no. He's fine. He's on the list of short list of guys I'll use tonight. Let's put it like that. Like, the good thing about MME is you don't have to narrow your list down to the 2 guys. So I can run 6 or 7 or 8, even 8 guys if I wanted to. But I think there's a short list of 6, and he's on it. And then after that 6, then we get a big drop off. Debatable. There's some guys who may pop out like a Luzardo or something like that, which I'm definitely not on. But after those first 6 that we've talked about, it's a pretty big drop off for me.
Yeah, I know Dave. Cheese is good. Dave Potts wrote about it today. 2-time millionaire winner. He knows what he's talking about. Like, there's no better mind when it comes to baseball and DFS and results. Honestly, I know it sounds like I'm a homer saying that, but anybody that knows his work or reads his work, it's required reading for me. And he was talking about, like, look, I'm not here to tell you like you should play him or shouldn't play him. I'm just telling you that I'm going to be playing some Luzardo. It's also that great spot of everybody was burned on him by him last time out. And the Marlins really wanted to get him like to feel better and get him that win, because he really eked to that finish line, and they got him over 100 pitches, which we haven't seen the Marlins throw starting pitchers over 100 pitches in a while. It seems like other guys, they kind of like halt around 85, 90. They'll pinch hit for him. They're going nowhere. It's a young group of arms. Why would they push them? But Luzardo, like, it was like, what was it, 13, 14 to 5, and like the 4th or 5th inning, like, we got to get this guy to W. Let him feel good. They just traded for him, hometown boy. He did get a lot of swinging strikes the last game. If you want to look for a positive, now that was the Cubs. So the Cubs swinging this versus a lot of people, but he's looked rough. There's no way around it. He's looked rough. The ballpark is good to pitch in, but this Atlanta lineup is good, and it looks better with the addition of Travis d'Arnaud being healthy again, just kind of stretches that lineup out. And it sounds like you're not on him. He's 6'1" on DK, and I'm okay with it. If it gets me all the bats I want, I'm fine with it, but it's more of an extreme tournament option, not, something I would do in single entry.
I hope Cheese wins another million. I'm not trying to use your word here. I'm not trying to besmirch the man, but what Atlanta really does have this a lineup that on paper, the names look very, very appealing against left-handed pitching. He hadn't been very good. They've got Soler in there now, Duvall, d'Arnaud's back, Riley, Albies. These guys, I don't want to mess around with that lineup too much, especially with a pitcher, a left-hander who hasn't been very good. So he's not my cup of tea tonight, but
I get it.
Whatever.
Albies crushes lefties, and like you mentioned, Duvall is the 7-hitter, like, big power hitter, revenge game. Like he banged out a lot of homers in this ballpark in a short time. He knows how to hit here in Miami. Riley's been like taking a nice leap. Like, one time big prospect, scuffled a bit. Now all of a sudden he's rising to the occasion. It's a pretty tough Atlanta lineup for sure. And I think you're an interesting stack. When we talk about stacks, just like nobody's going to play Atlanta because people just scratch off games in this ballpark, and I understand why. But Luzardo has been bad. He's given up a ton of homers, and he's walked a bunch of dudes. So it's not this massive sample, but what we've seen of him so far, he's been pretty bad. And I guess we should acknowledge the presence of Tarik Skubal. Skubal, the big prospect for Detroit, been better of late. A pretty solid price, back-to-back shutouts, I believe. And it's the same sort of deal as Miami. They're not going to push him too hard, obviously. They're going nowhere. 6 innings, 5 innings, 84 pitches, 91 pitches. That's basically the max. But, the Angels, I don't believe we have a lineup just yet, but
we do.
Okay. Is Ohtani in there? He is. He's leading off.
So, Dean, I'm gonna need you to get me some splits here, man. Dean, I need some split stats. I want to know how Ohtani performs at the plate when he's also starting that game on the mound. Like, does that, because then he's leading off. It's got to be tougher for him. I guess my point is, I'm just not enthused with the Angels lineup every day now, anymore. And then this is their best hitter by far. And if he is not even up to 100% at the plate because he has to worry about being on the mound, that's even better. So Skubal, who's actually been fairly decent, man.
Yeah.
I think he belongs in the conversation to be played in GPPs.
I'm pulling up the plate IQ. Last 30 days, his walks are at 2.8%. The strikeouts haven't exactly been there, but he's been efficient, 20.2%. But also, let's see, this Angels lineup, it's been much more K-happy. Oh, this is their contact lineup. Adele, of course, strikes out a ton, and as does Upton. Mayfield, a good bit of strikeouts, but Fletcher is a big contact guy, obviously. Iglesias, Goslin, Lagares, and Suzuki. Yeah, this is one of their more contact-heavy lineups for what it's worth as far as Skubal. So, and again, he's cheap enough, so it's kind of baked into the price. He's not going to put up a 30 spot, but why can't he go 5 or 6 and strike out 4 or 5, give up a run or 2, and just kind of survive the pitching slate? And Ohtani's another guy, by the way. You talked about how terrible he was that one outing versus the Yankees, and he was. And he's had issues with being wild. On the season, 10.7% as far as his walks. But the last 30 days, the walks are 4.3%. He's harnessed that. And we know he has the K upside as well too. In Detroit, not a terribly imposing lineup outside of the fact that Cabrera, is Miggy going to do it tonight? Is Miggy going to bang out number 500? The crowd is pumped and they're excited in Detroit. I'm not sure if you're watching this. Every time he gets up, the crowd's going crazy. They're cheering for him and he doesn't do anything. But, maybe tonight's the night. Probably not, but maybe. Yeah.
No, he's not in it tonight.
And the expert survey today, my bold call, my bold prediction, which sometimes you take liberties saying something ridiculous. Sometimes I said 10 strikeouts for Ohtani, gives up 1 hit, and it's a homer to Miguel Cabrera. There you go. I don't know what was your. Oh, yours was BVP Latin, wasn't it? I believe it was. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Anything else that's worth mentioning as far as the pitchers? We kind of mentioned like Yarbrough, can't roster him. Greinke, revenge game against Kansas City. Andrew Heaney, when he's not giving up homers, he doesn't have the ability to strike guys out, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. That Red Sox lineup is too good. I don't think there's much else to acknowledge as far as the pitchers. I think it's pretty clear who's in the pool and who's out of the pool.
Yeah, these definitely got to be the guys we talked about, are pool worthy guys. The rest of these guys, you may catch a good Zach Greinke game every once in a while, but more than likely, he is what he is right now in his career. So Ranger Suarez, maybe, I guess, if you really needed to save salary, he's been okay. He's been adequate.
They stretched him out of late.
And the Arizona lineup, I've definitely have been going against them with the starting pitching ever since the trade deadline. They're really not that good outside of a couple hitters. So he's in the mix, I guess. But yeah, I think those top 6 are where we want to stay at.
Yeah, Suarez is kind of interesting because we've seen his pitches. Let's see, his pitch count from 729, 19 pitches to 33 pitches to 61 pitches to 82 pitches. And like you said, Arizona is pretty dreadful. I think they have a decent job at grabbing the W, some little bit of inequity. So he hasn't made it to an actual win spot. He hasn't pitched 5 clean innings yet, or 5 innings at all. But 4 1/3 last time out, and he's 5'7". I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Like, again, and that's obviously like extreme, like, top heavy, MME, big tournament, not something you necessarily run out there in a small field. If it hits, you want it to pay off for you. But yeah, I don't want to say he's fully stretched out, but if he's pitching well, why can't he throw 85 pitches against an Arizona team that's not very good? As far as, his Ks are good, 26%, walks too many guys, 10%. But, if you can kind of subdue that, it's 5.7 K, and it gets you 12 or 13 or 14 points and your bats to the work. It kind of opens up the world for you. All right, give me the summary. What do you have to summarize as far as the arms before we talk about some stacks, Chopper?
In summary, I think cash game pitchers you're down to Morton, Flaherty, Ohtani, and you maybe even include Peralta in there. You expand that list to Lynn and Marco Gonzalez and maybe Skubal if you're talking about GPPs. After that, you probably you can expand it a few more in the bigger tournaments, a $4 buy-in with 100,000 other teams you're competing against. But after that, you don't want to mess around with too many of these Spencer Watkins of the world.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to talk about our stacks. Actually, let's put that conversation away for a second. Just tell the people about college football, the college football premium. You can get that a la carte. You can get just college football if you want that. You can get $10 off your first month. You can get just baseball, $10 off your first month. We'll go ahead and drop that link in chat. But if you get the premium, all encompassing every single sport, you get college football, you get NFL, you get baseball, basketball, hockey, PGA, college basketball, soccer, MMA, esports, WNBA, tennis. I may have missed something there, and that includes all the tools, all the articles, all the videos, the optimizer, lineup HQ, plate IQ, slate IQ, ownership percentage. You get the I'm sure expert rankings. You get the expert survey, and many more. I'm sure I missed some things, but I know college is right around the corner. Again, people get that a la carte, but you might as well just, if you're playing a bunch of sports, have at it. Tell the people, Chop, why should the people be excited about your content? And not just you, you're just a part of the team, obviously.
Yeah, it's we're 10 days away from week 0, 17 days away from the first Saturday, the big Saturday. But and then week 0. But then you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday games leading up to week 1 too. Lots of it. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. It's the best college football content providers out there between PSU and just a DB, natural slugger, Fear My Turtle. Those PSU and Fear My Turtle might be the best tandem of these alternative sports, man, that are out there.
They're like the masters of the fringe sports, right?
And they're just incredible with their projections. Like, I know college football, and I read these guys, and I want to turn to all of those guys, all their information. I'm reading all that. That's how good they are. So I don't think there's another sport out there where you have that much of a leg up on the field if you have a subscription to Rotogrinders. I mean, and it's not just lip talk, because the field hasn't caught up to college football just yet, because maybe, the prize pools, which are creeping up. I think there's some massive ones already posted for week 1, but the field just hasn't caught up because the information isn't there yet. It's really hard to get information, but that's what we do for you. That's the best one, though. It's the great sport. So yeah, if you want it, you can get any sport you want, except for NASCAR. Stevie cuts it off on NASCAR. He says that's his deal, man. So that's fine too. It's worth it, man. He's got a leg up on the field too in what he does. So, but yeah, it's the one sport, man. I would recommend, like, if you want to be ahead of everybody else, that's the one.
Yeah, good job calling me out. I forgot to cut it. I don't want to mislead anybody. That's the one that does not include it, but all the others. And NASCAR is kind of a niche sport too. Like, I don't play it. I know a lot of people don't play it, but whatever. If you want NASCAR, you got to get it a la carte. I was talking about the segue. You mentioned Watkins for Baltimore. This is just sort of my quandary. I love that Tampa team. I love the matchup. Watkins is rough versus righties. He's been terrible versus lefties. He's overmatched. That bullpen is bad, but I just really hate that ballpark. They're very, very likely to lose the 9th inning as far as at bats. Like, these things don't matter if you're up 17-3 in the 7th. But Tampa's going to be reasonably popular on this slate, and there are some respectable pivots we'll talk about. How much are you prioritizing? And Tampa was the only team that did good last night, by the way. If you looked at the slate, was that the most uneventful 14 games you've ever seen? Like, I'm like, what? Who did anything last night? Like, Nelly Cruz, and that's it. You had Nelly Cruz, you won. That's it. Basically, I might have missed something else, but as for tonight, what are your thoughts as far as Tampa? How are you handling Tampa? Is that a good place to start as far as the stat conversation?
Well, it's got to be. You got, anytime a team is more than a half a run above the field as far as implied run total from Vegas, you got to start there. It's a good lineup. So really, they're a lot better since they added Nelson Cruz in there. I think Franco is a really nice addition to the top of that order. He's going to be good one day. Probably not there right now, but having good hitters around him makes him a lot better. And then I called out Brandon Lowe on my survey as being one of probably the top play for me. He's going to hit at the top of this order against this pitcher. He's been really good lately. I believe guys get warmer and colder at certain points in the year, but it'll all even out in the end. But right now he's a little bit warmer than he has been at any point this year. I like that. It's a good place to start for your stacks is Tampa Bay. I think they got they give you a little G-Man Choi tonight. There's some power in there.
What do you do with him though? Because, like, again, it's the whole deal of, they bring in a lefty and he's gone.
I mean, that's a tournament play. You're certainly not playing him in cash, but you're in tournaments because one home run out of your first baseman there is fine, and then you're hoping the rest of your stack pays off, whatever that may be. So, and they also got a really nice catcher here that you can play. If in another stack, I don't know. Some people don't prefer to use their catchers within their 4 or 5 man stack. Well, he could be a good one-off for another stack. The point is, he's down there at number 8. You got a catcher in the line.
You like Mejia over? I thought talking about Zunino. Zunino's not in the lineup. You want Mejia?
I don't want him. I'm just saying he's there. He's a catcher on DraftKings. You got to play one catcher on DraftKings. I'm certainly not playing him on FanDuel. You got to play one catcher though. So I like, when I look at catchers on DraftKings, I'm looking for really cheap guys, and I prefer that team total next to their name be super high, and you got that here. So I don't mind that.
Yeah. But for what it's worth, I on DK or even on FanDuel, I think you could play this Yoel Pozo. I'm sorry. You corrected me pre-show, and I don't know if I believe you or not. I'm not sure it was a chop factor. You actually know how to pronounce his name, but he's 2K on DK, 2K on FanDuel. He's technically a catcher, at least in our lineups, but he's actually DHing tonight. batting 5th. It kind of speaks to how terrible that lineup is. And this guy was not a prospect by any means in the organization. I was looking, he's like the 65th ranked prospect in the Texas Rangers organization, but he's got 19 homers this year in A-ball. I think it was 10 homers and like 70 at bats versus lefties. And that's all I'm shooting for. I mean, if I can get a homer, that's all. It's a game of homers, especially on DK, where the correlation doesn't matter as much as it does on FanDuel. I'm just fishing for homers. If I can get a cheap homer, I'm perfectly fine with that. So he's probably going to be my cash game catcher, especially if I don't have salary, if I'm going to delegate it elsewhere. Yeah, but with 3 lefties in that Baltimore bullpen, I just went and checked as far as just kind of, I think that's one of the things I always look for certain teams. Let's say they got Abad, Fry, and Scott. Scott worked yesterday. Fry did not. Abad did not work yesterday. We worked the previous 2 days for what it's worth. I think the next place we're going to have to go as far as talking about the stacks. And again, if we're not talking about the stacks you guys want us to talk about, by all means, ask us about them in chat. Well, Devin will come on in about 10 minutes or so and run it by us and see, hey, either we forgot about them or we don't like them for whatever reason. It's got to be the Boston game, right? The Boston Yankee game, Yankee Stadium, and Andrew Heaney's, he is what he is. He gives up fly balls. He strikes guys out. He gives up homers. And there's a slew of righties waiting to get him. I know Yankee Stadium better for lefty power, but it's not bad for righty power. So, it also, like, if you're not stacking Boston, I don't think it's the craziest idea to play some Heaney. Like, you probably shouldn't. But again, that's like a large field, thought process. But is Boston the next team we're looking at? I think it's the next team I'm looking at.
They're not the next team on the list for me, but I get it. I get the Boston Yankees game being a big offensive shootout. That's good. So, yeah, if you want to talk about them, Haney's been really unimpressive, to be honest with you, since he came to the Yankees. So I don't mind the Boston bats there. You got a lot of home run upside there. And then on the flip side, the Yankees are at home against Pavetta. Got this powerful lineup. Rizzo comes back tonight. Let me double check that just a minute. Yeah, Rizzo's in the
back
lineup
and
tonight.
He's 3-5. He's 3-5 on FanDuel and 3-6 on DK, which, like, that's, if you're playing cash games, how do you not play Rizzo at 3? I know he had an issue with COVID. I think he said it was a tough bout, but I assume he's feeling better if he's back in the lineup. But yeah, that price is just goofy. But go ahead.
Yeah, and then you got home run power all the way down to the 7th hitter in Gary Sanchez. So that game right there is definitely going to be on the top of people's radar. I like it. That's fine. My second team, though, after Tampa Bay, I was looking at the Chicago White Sox. Man, they're just getting a little bit healthier now. And there's a lot of power in this lineup. And we had a switch at start. I liked him against the left-hander already, and he got scratched. Cole Irvin, Paul Blackburn's in, or maybe he's Blackburn's a starter, and I don't know what the deal is.
I've not seen this. Is this a chop fact, or we have a different picture for Oakland today?
No, this is not. Dean, you gotta. Why would I joke around about that?
I don't know. It's so random.
Cole Irvin was the starter earlier in the day when I was looking at it, right? I don't think I'm mistaken that. And then now Paul Blackburn is the starter. So I don't know if Blackburn's going to go an inning and then give way to Cole Irvin. I don't know what's going on. Point is, either one of those guys in there. I liked them against Irvin. I like them even more against Paul Blackburn coming up, making a major league start here. So it's a lot of power in that White Sox lineup. I could get, golly, boy, they got some, between Luis Robert batting 7th and Jake Land batting 8th, you can get home runs at the bottom of your order. So, and be so unique.
Why is Vaughn not playing today? What's up with that? Vaughn is actually annihilated lefties.
I guess they, for some reason, Brian, maybe he's hurt or something.
Oh, it's a righty now. No, that's what it is. It's not, he's not facing a lefty anymore. Blackburn's a righty. So maybe they switched their lineup out for that.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Brian Goodwin's in there. So I would imagine that was probably, but Abreu, Moncada, Jimenez, there's just a lot of home run potential there. You'll catch me stacking the White Sox just about every day in some fashion from here on out, because they're getting healthy and they got a very potent lineup.
Blackburn, August 13th. So 5 days ago, he pitched 5 innings. Previous to that, 6 innings. Previous to that, 5 innings. So I just presume he is the starter, and that's that. I'm taking a quick glance as far as his minor league numbers. I don't know much about him. Let's see. I pull up the MLB website here. 4.97 ERA. I know we don't talk ERA a lot, but not a lot of less strikeouts than innings pitched in the minors is generally not a good sign. 88 innings pitched, 80 strikeouts, and a 1.59.
Now, when you say Blackburn's numbers,
yeah,
those minor league numbers,
yeah,
Okay. I was going to say, I don't think he's pitched in a while in the major leagues.
He's 27, and has he pitched ever in the? He's pitched 21 games in the majors for what it's worth, and he has 51 strikeouts and 99 innings. That seems bad.
That's not a good number against the White Sox, because when they make contact, they got some pretty big dudes.
Yeah, I did not see when the switch was made, but that is interesting.
That's what I'm here for, Dean.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that, but hey, let's see other stacks that are worth talking about. The Yankees, like, sure. I mean, we talked about Rizzo, Gallo. I mean, his power is completely insane. He doesn't even need to get a hold of it to bang one out there. He can bunt it over the right field wall. Is there any other team? Philadelphia is got another good matchup. They had a good matchup last night, kind of squandered it outside of Bryce Harper putting one in the pool. It's it's a West Coast game that's going to be mostly neglected, but I think it's pretty interesting for tournaments. You can get some of the Philly guys kind of cheap as well too, like a Segura who's batting second if you're looking to save some salary somewhere. And then what about Fultonevich? Who wants to play teams in the Texas Stadium? It's pretty awful, but Fultonevich just really gets annihilated by left-handers, and I think Seager is a pretty strong cash game play. Kelnick has been really rough this year, but I don't think he's a terrible play. Any lefty versus Fultonevich. Are the Mariners a team that's kind of sort of somewhat interesting, or it's just a couple, two or like a little mini stack of Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle doesn't really interest me except for maybe some one-offs. And like you said, a really small mini stack, like maybe a 3-man stack. That's about it. 2, 3. I'm just not a big fan of their lineup in general. In fact, I would put them well below the Atlanta Braves, who we didn't talk about as far as a stack. I think that's a very stackable team with all the left-handed, the guys who can kill left-handed pitching in there. So I definitely like the Atlanta Braves. Like, I like Tampa Bay quite a bit. You can't ignore that kind of a team total. Love the White Sox for the power. We talked about Boston Yankees. That'll be your popular options, but then Atlanta will sneak in there for me as the number 5 stack, very much under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are going to be mostly ignored, and I'm not saying that's correct or wrong. It's just that is what it is. Like, the way I see it, like, Brubaker is just sort of like a standard average major league pitcher. He's just sort of whatever, run of the mill. As far as homers per 9, by the way, reference 124 innings this year. Fultonevich, despite pitching that relatively pitcher friendly ballpark so far, we've seen that short history, 2.4 homers per 9. Just kind of walk it back as far as Seattle, but again, that Seattle lineup is kind of rough. Jesus Luzardo, 11% walks and 2.39 homers per 9. Like, that is the recipe. A guy that a bunch of walks and a bunch of homers. In Atlanta, I know the ballpark stinks. I get all that, but I do think Atlanta is kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Anything else that's to mention as far as stacks? Or I know Devin's compiling a bunch of questions from the chat. I'm sure they're going to reiterate and ask more stack questions, but maybe we saved a bunch of time for chat. We can do that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, anybody we didn't talk about is still capable of sneaking up in there and being putting up 5 home runs tonight. You never know, but I'm not particularly.
Your Astros? You like your Astros tonight?
It's just a very unhealthy lineup right now, and they're kind of just going through the motions. There's, they've been missing several guys for several days in a row now, and so. Maybe tonight's the night. I don't think they want to go to KC and lose 3 straight, but so I think they do snap out of it, but it's just not as strong of a lineup. Like, when they get back to full health and, Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman and the rest of them come back, they'll go very much on their own because people will think they're just an average offense now. And the recency bias will catch up. But for right now, they're not at the top of that list for me.
Your boy Yordan Alvarez is back, and I do like, if you're looking for some salary savers, and I'm sure like McCormick and Myers, like they just have like raw power. Those guys have raw power. There's still like some holes in their swings. It's not the greatest ballpark to hit homers, but they're 2.5 and 2.2 on DK respectively. I played both these guys like this week. I've been playing it just to kind of make stuff work. And you're just, again, talk about homer and hunting. I'm fine if those are your dart like one-offs just to kind of make stacks work, and hopefully they bang one out. Did you have thoughts on those hitters? Like, I'm sure you've been watching, at least to some extent. You're aware of Myers and McCormick, and Jones isn't in the lineup. That's another big boy. When he's in there, that guy gets his hacks too.
Yeah, I mean, McCormick is a home run or strikeout. One of those 2 things is what he's going to do. So yeah, you can go home run hunting with him. Myers, I said the other day, I was like, this guy's so far behind major league pitching right now. He shouldn't even be up. And then he went out and hit 2 homers, but that was really fluky.
Bush play.
I don't expect him to do that. He really does look lost a lot at times, but if you want to take some chances on him, that's fine. I think McCormick is a little bit better though.
I had the Myers 2 home run game at like 1% in FanDuel, and I think I did not cash that lineup, which is like, good job, Dean.
I didn't have it, Dean. I didn't have it because I usually go in there and X out 9-hole hitters, and he was 9th in the order that day. So I usually X him out. So if he was hitting 8th, I would have got a piece of it. But just because they put him in 9, I didn't get any of it.
So it's funny because I'll X out 9-hole guys on the road. I'm sorry, at home. At home, I hate it. On the road, I'm okay with it. Like it's on the road, I'm like, you're still going to get your 4 at bats almost definitely. Like, so it's like, doesn't really matter as much to me where you hit in the lineup, but that's interesting. I'm glad to hear you do that too. But what are you doing when you're Xing out as far as your lineup building process tonight before we bring Devin on? I'm just curious. Sometimes you say, like, I'm just going to artificially bump up some players that I like, and whatever I get, I get. And if it happens to be 4-2-2, if it happens to be 3-3-1-1, however it comes out, that's how it comes out. Are you making any parameters as far as stacks tonight, or is tonight a night where you're just like, I'm going to play the good plays, and if it stacks, so be it. If it's not stacks, whatever.
Tonight is a 10 gamer, and with some of these good offenses on here on DraftKings, I'll have 4-man stacks, and I'll set the parameter to go 4-man. But on FanDuel, I won't make it stack anything. I won't have any boundaries there for it. It's just the difference in the sites that I've noticed, and so I'm just going to roll with it.
That's interesting because that goes against the scoring system. Like you're motivated in theory to stack more on FanDuel, just the way the correlation works. You get more points for runs, more points for RBIs, but also more people are doing that, I guess. Is that your thought?
What I noticed is that it's probably a little easier usually to build a team on FanDuel. So, you can, even within a stack, would you rather have, for example, Chas McCormick, within that Astro stack, or would you rather have 3 other good Astros and then one off, I don't know, Luis Robert, or I don't know if that's a good example, a much more expensive guy, because it's easier to make teams. It just seems like you maybe get caught up too much in stacking and leaving thousands on the table in salary when you're not getting the better players by a pretty wide margin. That
is the same quandary I have. And my same thought process is like, you're giving up a little bit of stack equity, you're giving up a little bit of correlation equity for the better hitter. Like, yeah, okay, sure, Chas McCormick can absolutely go out there and hit 2 homers, but instead I'm just going to take JD Martinez one off. And like, it's sort of like the give and take. And I understand both aspects of it. It's interesting to hear. I'm happy to hear that you have that thought process as well. And, it depends on the day, depends on the slate and all that, but all right. We've teased them enough. Let's bring Devin on. Devin, do you come with a bunch of questions?
I have plenty of questions, lots of stat questions, lots of pitching questions. So maybe we just jump right in, huh?
All right, dude, fire away.
We'll start with the stacks game. Chop, Dodgers, 1 through 5. What's your ranking?
Ooh, Dodgers against Brubaker. That's about a 4.1.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with the Dodgers. They're kind of sort of falling back for me. Maybe I'm just bitter because they ruined it for me, and they stunk last night like everybody else. This isn't lightning round just yet, is it, Devin? I certainly hope it's not.
It might be like slow lightning.
3.7. 3.7.
Diamondbacks, Dean.
2. I'm not really on Diamondbacks. No, 2. I'm probably rounding up. I'm not on Arizona.
Chop.
Yeah, man. 1.8, and that's only because maybe, just maybe, you get into the bullpen early, and the Philly bullpen is really bad. But I don't know. Ranger Suarez is not bad.
Yankees, Chop.
Yikes! All that power for a stack. I gotta go 4.3 at home against Pavetta.
Yeah, I'm gonna prices right you. I'm gonna go 4.29.
They are not priced as bad as you'd think for Yankees. Phillies, Dean.
Yeah, we know you about bullpens. The Arizona bullpen is really rough, and Philadelphia's guaranteed a 9th inning, potentially against a rough arm, depending on how things are going in that game. 3-6 on Philadelphia. Love Harper as a one-off, obviously.
I'm going 3-3, and I think you just described why I don't like Philly. I just don't like their offense in general that much, and I just think you can get a lot of what they do on a nightly basis by just taking Harper one off.
Yeah, that's fair.
Chop White Sox.
Oh, out of 5, give me a 4.8.
Ah. You're holding back your points there, Chop. Even the ones you like don't get the full 5.
No, 5.
Full
Come on,
5
can we
for
talk
Chop.
about this
that's
now?
hard to achieve.
It's like giving out the 10 in the slam dunk contest. You can't just frivolously get out of a 10.
Yes.
That's got to be the 10 has to be the dunk that makes your just jaw drop, the best one. So no, I can't just give out a 5.
Dean, you would agree with that.
I mean, I've lectured Will about this. Not lectured, but Will was like 5. Like everybody can't be. You can't say everything is beautiful. Then nothing is beautiful. Is that you can't overuse. Well, look,
unless
look,
you
Will,
pick,
that's not a knock at Will.
Unless you pick all my favorite flowers, in which case, yeah, I'm gonna say all those smell great. White Sox, Dean.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Blackburn's. I want to look at his kind of stats again one more time. And 15.3% K rate in his career. That's 41 innings in the majors. 49% ground ball. So he does have a skill. He's got a ground ball skill. We'll give him that. Fly balls 29%. Walks pretty average, pretty good actually, 6.3%. And not a lot of hard hits for what it's worth. But I think that Chicago side's pretty strong. I'll go 4-2. Not as ambitious as Chopper, but I definitely like them more than we started the show.
And round it off with Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Eesh.
Wow.
No Pittsburgh?
I mean, it's 1.8.
I mean, yeah, I like Brian Reynolds, but like Hayes is fine, but he's been disappointing. I can't get into it.
Do you know what these prices are on DraftKings for Pittsburgh?
I think Brian Reynolds is like 3.3, or 3.5, which is really good. So I like him.
Everyone
Park
else
is 2K. Yeah,
like 3K,
terrible.
2K. You only need mini stacks of that one. I might have some Pittsburgh tonight. Let's do some lightning round for the rest of them. BJ would like to know DK Cash, Morton, and Otani. Are those your pairing?
Yeah, I made 2 different lineups, and one is Morton Otani, one is Morton Gonzalez. That's where I'm at right now. I don't think you get the bats you want, whichever one fits. That's my thought on that. You have a thought on that, Chop?
I'm on Morton and Flaherty, and that's where I'm going tonight.
And we actually it looks like we had a couple of stacks got dropped in chat. Tampa Bay, Chop.
Oof.
Yeah, this big team total, everything's good, but I'm still going to list them below the White Sox, so give a 4.6.
I was going to say 4.5. They're strong.
And Angels, Dean.
No, I mean, you can't even play Otani. No, 1.6. What am I going to do with this team?
Yeah, 1.7.
All right, Shannon.
I like the Upton price, but everybody does. So you kind of make stuff work. But go ahead.
Shannon wants to know, for tournaments, are we playing Flaherty over Morton tonight?
I don't think so. Just because they're all going to be kind of popular anyway. So, but I just Flaherty over. I mean, you just play them both, right? If you want to play them both, just play them both. Maybe
they're playing FanDuel.
Okay, if you made me choose between the 2 on FanDuel, I'm still taking Morton because of the matchup. I don't mind the little extra ownership.
Dean, did we want to touch on a little bit of around the horn? Maybe just a couple of quick picks.
Yeah, I talked about liking Pozo on DK as my catcher. I'm serious. 2K, and I'll play him against Marco Gonzalez. I don't really care. Darno is a good price, bad ballpark, but 3.5K for Darno, well positioned. If you have the salary, Will Smith really good against righties. Brubaker, not something I'm afraid of. Like him a good bit. Of course, you can spend up on Perez if you want. First base, you're just playing Rizzo. I don't know why you wouldn't play Rizzo in a cash game. I think that's going to make guys like Muncy and Abreu. And also, if you're playing Atlanta stack, you can play Freeman left on left. Do not be afraid of that. But Rizzo is for sure your cash game guy on DK. Second base, it's hard to get the Lau. If you can't get the Lau, I think it's Kike Enrique Hernandez on the road against the lefty. Well positioned for those 5 ABs. Love Albies for tournaments. Third base, Seager. I think Seager is, we talked about lefties against Fulton Nevich, 2.4 homers per 9. Tournaments, Odor, cheap power, Yankee Stadium, that right field, and Riley. Again, same deal with the Braves. If you're stacking Boston, by no means should you leave out Devers because it's left on left. Shortstop, again, the righty power versus Heaney. I love Bogarts. If you need to save salary here, J.P. Crawford leading off, not a great hitter, but he's perfectly fine. And he could swipe a bag or two, and he can save some salary. Seager at 5K, 3-2 on FanDuel. That's a really strong price. Like Turner in tournaments. Nelly Cruz, especially on FanDuel, has got an awesome price. Love Hunter Renfroe at 4.1K. The Yankees we've kind of sort of somewhat neglected, but Gallo and Judge, awesome plays. Upton's a cheapie to make things work. Did I miss anything, Chopper?
No. Sounds about right, Dean.
That was impressive, Dean, as always. Kenneth wants to know, how many teams are you trying to stack in your lineups? Are you trying to stack just one team and get a bunch of one-offs the rest of it, or maybe two teams?
Chop?
I very, very, very rarely double stack. So if I do stack, it'll just be one team.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting. Did we get an organic mush play from Dean? Otaku wants to know.
I kind of sort of Peralta, but not really. Like I like Peralta, but I'm gonna have less than the field. So and probably less on Flaherty, which again I'm okay with both those guys, but I'm probably not gonna be on them as much as even Chopper. It sounds like
the bat is really down on Lance Lynn. Just noticing that. You guys seen that yet?
I did not notice that. Why would that be?
I don't know. He's pretty far down for a 10K pitcher on DK. Let's see, maybe quick one or two questions before we get out because we're running out of time. Brendan wants to know Marco or Greinke straight up.
Oof.
For me, it's Marco.
Yeah, I mean, you could get good Zach and then he's awesome, but more times than not, you're getting very mediocre Zach this year. So definitely Marco.
All right, I'm going to scroll through the umps real quick. What are our two favorite one-offs? Gregory wants to know. Maybe we can tie this in with home run calls to tie.
I like Pozo. Pozo's going yard, man. I'm serious, and I think you can even play him on FanDuel at 2K. And he's the DH. He's batting fifth. And again, I know he's not a prospect. Whatever. He's 2K. And Hunter Renfroe was the guy I wrote up today. It's silly. It's goofy to kind of sort of predict homers. I know we do it, and some guys have a better chance than others. But what I can tell you, this guy hits the ball hard, and he hits fly balls. And Haney gives up hard hits, and he gives up fly balls. And I don't know if he's getting a home run, but it's a really, really good chance he hits one or two balls in the air, and it's up to the home run to fly ball gods. And, I'm going to go with Renfroe today. I like him a good bit. Chop?
Corey Seager, because I probably won't stack Dodgers that full. So Seager's a good one-off. And then I said I didn't like the full Houston lineup, but Jordan is back, and he's as capable of hitting multiple home runs in a game as anybody. So Jordan.
And apologies if we didn't get to your questions. I know there were a few of them in there that we still hadn't touched on yet. But Dean, you want to take us home?
Yeah, well, they can ask him on Crunch Time. Who's on Crunch Time today, Devin?
Looks like we got Cheese and Will joining Roth today.
That's a good combination. Yeah, if you guys are premium members, again, we talk about how you guys can become premium members. Get yourself $10 off the first month for just baseball or all the sports, with the exception, of course, of NASCAR. We do thank you guys for asking questions. It makes the show more fun, more interactive. Do subscribe, turn on that notification bell on your way out. That was baseball. That was Chopper. That was Devin. I was Dean. Good luck tonight. We're out of here. Holler.